We're back with Prime Minister Putin. A great pleasure to welcome him to Larry King Live. Well, there's a lot of concern now about this new treaty. Your President Medvedev warned that there'd be a new arms race if NATO and Moscow don't agree on a joint missile shield. And what happens to the relations between the two countries? Will there be another arms race if the United States doesn't ratify?
No. Talking today before the Federal Assembly, the President Medvedev mentioned the fact that we've just put forward a proposal as to how jointly working, all of us, tackling joint problem of security, could share responsibility between ourselves. And this problem should be necessarily dealt with through this joint effort in the first place. But if our proposals will be met with negative answers only, and on top of that, at the vicinity of our borders will be built additional threats as this new version of the third defense region there, Russia will have to ensure her own security through different means and ways. To put in place a new striking forces against the threats which will have been built there, against the new threats which will have been created along our borders, the new missile nuclear technologies will be put in place. That's not our choice. We don't want that to happen. This is no threat on our part. We've been simply saying that this is what expects all of us to happen. If we don't agree on joint effort there, that's it. Once again, we don't want this to happen at all.
Well, you're saying it's not a threat, but it does sound like a threat. The Wall Street Journal today reporting that America believes you're moving short-range tactical nuclear warheads near NATO allies, as recently as this spring. Was that true?
Larry,
please listen to me now. I want you and all American people know this. At least those spectators who will follow our program here. It's not us who are moving forward our missiles to your territory. It's you who are planning to mount missiles at the vicinity of our borders, of our territory. We've been told that you'll do it in order to secure you against the, let's say, Iranian nuclear threat. But such a threat as of now doesn't exist. Now, if the radars and counter missiles will be deployed in year 2012 along our borders, or 15, they will work against our nuclear potential there, our nuclear arsenal. And certainly that worries us. And we are obliged to take some actions in response. We are talking about action in response, not about taking the first initiative there. And in Lisbon, the President Medvedev was very specific in his proposals, boiling down to the fact that part of responsibility for ensuring security in Europe should be taken upon by NATO. And part of responsibility, of joint responsibility, that is, should be taken upon by Russia. And here to say we could agree with NATO, and that's to say with the United States too, on the exchange of information, on joint control over those facilities. The military experts can agree upon all those things if a goodwill is to be exercised there. But if in a very dumb nature people will tell, we'll ignore your interests, we'll do whatever we want to do there, and then we'll regard that as a threat to ourselves, then we'll have to react somehow. I want the American public hear this. And you've said it straight, and we'll be right back with more of the Prime Minister of Russia, Vladimir Putin, after this. We'll touch some other bases with the Prime Minister Vladimir Putin of Russia coming to us tonight from Moscow. What was your assessment of President Obama? Such assessment is to be provided by the electorate, by the people who voted for him, basically American citizens first. But looking from a side to provide an expert assessment there, generally speaking, I might as well say that the President Obama has been confronted with very serious challenges, as it's a vogue word now, especially in the sphere of economy. It's not up to me to judge whether he has taken right or wrong steps when he passed through the parliament the law on health care, for one. But I don't doubt the fact that in this particular case, very sensitive for Americans, too, Obama did whatever he could to respond to the aspirations of the American people, who had been understood by him and formulated as his electorate campaign platform. He promised to do that. He did it. As regards his foreign activities, we are thankful to him for the fact that he has softened the rhetorics in the U.S.-Russia relations. And in practical terms, he put further away this idea of the third defense region in Europe approach, which provided us with the possibility for dialogue. We've won some time there to try and implement this very plan, which was put forward by the President Medvedev in Lisbon.
This is puzzling. 10 Russian sleeper agents were arrested in the United States earlier this year, then sent back to Russia in a spy swap. You met with them after their deportation. What was your impression? I mean, you were very involved with the KGB. What was this all about? What did they tell you?
Вы знаете, мы, собственно говоря,
basically,
условно говоря, по производственным проблемам с ними.
As regards strictly business, we had a word. But yes, we talked different topics with them. What can I tell you now? These are the people who naturally deserve respect. I've said it before, I can repeat it again. With their activities, they didn't cause any harm to the interests of the United States of America. As you know, they belong to a special service, clandestine service, with their own tasks to tackle. These tasks, as a rule, become pertinent in the crisis periods, like when the diplomatic relations would have been suspended or cut. Thanks God, such a status of affairs we have not witnessed in the relations between Russia and U.S. today, and I hope it will never occur in our relations in future.
So they do know what you would call spying under your direction.
They had their own tasks to address. They are involved in the clandestine activities, the main purpose of which is to be actively involved during the crisis times and when the diplomatic ties are suspended, when other means of intelligence service are not efficient or sometimes are not possible. These folk, once again, did not cause any harm to the interests of the United States of America. Having said that, any country, including the United States of America, is engaged in intelligent gathering. Nobody doubts that. And incidentally, the activities of our services, of secret services that are compared to the U.S. services, looking much better. Thanks God, neither these agents or others were seen as organizing clandestine prisons or hostage-taking or torturing people.
We will ask the Prime Minister about Afghanistan and other things, ask him about George Bush's new book, ask him as well about whether the World Cup might come to Moscow in 2018. Lots more ahead. Don't go away. We're back with Prime Minister Putin. The former USSR spent 9 years fighting in Afghanistan. In fact, I believe we discussed this the last time we were together 10 years ago. Your country spent it there without victory. Some called it the Soviet Union's Vietnam. Do you think the United States will do any better in Afghanistan?
Во-первых, я думаю, что это все-таки некорректно.
First, I don't think it would be right to make such a comparison with regards to Afghanistan. Our troops withdrew from Afghanistan in an organized, quiet manner, and after withdrawal of our troops, the regime, which had been supported by the Soviet Union, lasted for 3 years in a quiet mode, rhythmically. It was destroyed by Taliban virtually after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when there was no longer any support to be provided by the former Soviet Union to them. I believe that the Soviet Union made many mistakes there. The blunder was the fact that the Soviet troops were there in the first place. It was not the thing to do. That's evident. Now, as regards current presence of American troops and of the international coalition troops in Afghanistan, indeed the situation has seriously changed there. Likewise, you cannot compare our presence in Afghanistan with Vietnam. In the same manner, you cannot compare the US and international presence in Afghanistan today with the Soviet presence in the late 80s there. Well, you know, I would think that the international coalition in Afghanistan today is carrying out an important and positive mission. We cannot and shall not be present there militarily ourselves, but we've been rendering assistance both to the American partners and other partners of the international coalition in Afghanistan in various ways and means. We have agreed to ensure transit, and we've been doing that, including not only by air, but also by surface. We've been relating important, pertinent information, including we have got it through our special services, which you have mentioned a few minutes earlier. This could be related to an absolute positive side of our interaction. There were instances when our helicopter flyers took out American and Dutch military stuff from the battlefield being fired on by the enemy. And there are other means to support the international efforts in Afghanistan. For example, assisting the government in office and the armed forces of Afghanistan. This is a whole set, a big set of joint work there. We count on the fact that this effort will bear positive fruit.